Hey guys, so I thought it was important to touch base on where um, any type of religion was in my background so we can kind of understand why this is of interest of me. This book, A Course in Miracles, is what we're talking about. But so just so we're kind of familiar with each other, and please share your experiences below. I'd love to hear where your background is with understanding even the concept of Jesus or God. And keep in mind, like, this book is not about creating a religion by any means, but I do kind of think that it will be interesting to see where all of our backgrounds are and how we interpret the different texts. So I was raised in not a particularly religious family by any means. I did go to church occasionally with my grandparents, and that was a Methodist church when I was around them. But I was pretty much raised from the time I was 7 to about 15 in a Southern Baptist church and environment. And my mom in the beginning would go with me a lot, and then there was like some church politics situations that happened, and she quit going, but she had me still go. I guess, and to her credit, I wanted to continue to go because I had friends there, and I never looked at church in the beginning or even growing up as like a religious thing. I thought it was fun to like go and do craft projects when I was really young. I thought that was really fun. And then as I got older, it was nice to meet friends and stuff. And then as I got a little bit older and I started understanding, a little bit more of the text, I found the messages were good. And, some I remember thinking, this is like creating fear within me. And I think, that might have been the beginning of some of my experiences with anxiety, because they would say phrases like, just imagine that God is watching you through a TV screen, everything you do, and live your life according to that. And I was like, oh God, I don't know, like that. I have to be perfect all the time. How could I be perfect all the time? And I think that still sticks with me sometimes in some ways. Like, I'm very hard on myself in some areas of my life, and when I do make a mistake or I do something wrong or I think back and I'm like, oh, I should have known better, I'm very hard on myself. And I think some of that has to do with that whole concept of this idea of like being perfect. And then there was always like another one of like, well, you gotta be either over the fence on one side or the other side. So you're like either practicing and doing what's right or you're not. There's no, like, they would say like there's no 1 foot over, 1 foot not, or something like that was like the concept that they said. And it was so much like fear-based and like revolving around like you have to be perfect in everything you do. So that aspect I didn't love, and I remember thinking at a very young age like, whoa, that's a lot. How am I going to not ever make mistakes and stuff? And for the most part, I would consider myself a pretty good kid. I continued to go to church until I was about, I would say 15 or 16 maybe, until there was a situation that happened in my personal life. And I was kind of taken back and disappointed on how the church responded to me. Being that I had gone to church there for so long, I considered them a lot of my family and friends. And then when this particular situation happened, I kind of felt abandoned, or kind of like discarded or judged. And that was really hurtful for me. And I completely stepped away from church. I've never gone back to church since then, actually. Unless it was for like a wedding, and then I was still hated going to church weddings. It was like, ooh, I don't want to be in here. But as time went on, and I still in my heart kept, I still prayed and had some some type of connection, but I did at that point start exploring different types of religion and ideas. And then I came to this, realization that like, forget religion. I just want to be a good person. I want to live with integrity. I want to do what's right. I want to be as kind as I possibly can. I want to just live with integrity. That was like, I'm responsible for my decisions, and as long as in my heart and my intentions are good, then life will be good. So like that's how I lived from, I guess, pretty much 16 on, with just that thought process of like, this is how I'm going to live. Not to say I didn't make mistakes, not to say that I didn't do things that in a church environment, I'm sure they would condone me for. I definitely made mistakes and have had to learn from them, some in a really hard way. But I never stopped seeking something about the idea of religion. And it wasn't until maybe a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and something else happened in my personal life that I was very hurt and upset by. And I started to feel really connected to the idea of angels and calling on guidance and being watched over. And that was never something that I was interested in before. No desire to learn about it or anything like that. And that's kind of what re-sparked an interest in being connected to religion again. So I started to feel very drawn and connected to Archangel Michael, and I kind of feel like he's one of my guides and like speaks to me, and like I'm feel very connected to him. So because of that connection and me seeking that comfort and protection in that aspect, is what has kind of reopened an interest in changing my mindset again. So hopefully that helps you understand my background. But I'll say this to my students all the time, like, you'll go through phases in your life and on your journey, and you'll be super connected to one thing, and then all of a sudden you'll no longer have that draw or attention to it very much. So for example, say religion or crystals and stones or Reiki or whatever, yoga or whatever these other self-care and self-work modalities are, if one doesn't speak to you, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't say never, because I could have sworn I would never, ever, ever revisit or talk about or even think about doing any type of readings or whatever about Jesus or religion again. That's how hurt I was from that kind of church experience. While yes, it did provide some positive structure for me, I was very hurt by it and kind of like swore it off. So never say never. You never know what's going to speak to you. Do your best to keep an open mind on things, as far as in like the healing world, and you never know when you need it. And if you have any questions about any other healing modalities or whatever, please write it here. I know there's some people in the group who have different experience. Some are teachers, some are practitioners, and some are not. Some are teachers and lawyers and stuff. But if you have any questions or want to share anything about your journey, I'd love to have it here so we can communicate and keep an open dialogue and just learn about each other. There's a lot of things I don't know, and I think the power in maturing to other levels is knowing that it's not what you know, it's what you don't know, right? So what this whole book is really about. So what do I not know, and why am I so drawn to this book? And maybe in the entire book, there's only one message at the very end that I get from it, but that may propel me to a different purpose and intention and mindset. So hopefully that helps you a little bit understand where I'm coming from as I'm reading these and chatting about them and creating meditations for you guys to do. But yes, please share your experiences, and still looking forward to continuing on this journey with you guys. Have a great day.